confirmation that the message of amnesty has been received by the parents who are entrusting the children to these drug dealers is the Border Patrol report that said 95% of those coming believed they would get a permiso. They believed they would be allowed to go scot-free here. That's the message that is being heard. It's why these children are being subjected to violence. You know, at Lackland Air Force Base, a senior official there described one child, a young Hispanic child who was a quadriplegic, who was paralyzed from the neck down. And the drug cartels had just abandoned him on the Texas side of the Rio Grande. They found him lying by the river, on the other side of the river. That's the sort of care and consideration they're providing for these children. These children, what is happening to these children is horrific, and we are a compassionate nation. We've always been a compassionate nation. But any policy that continues children being abused by violent drug cartels is the opposite of compassion. And so I would ask two questions to my friend, the senior senator from Arizona. The first, I had this afternoon lunch with the Attorney General of Texas, Greg Abbott, who described that the Attorney General of Texas and the U.S. Attorney's Office have recently arrested an alleged terrorist in Texas with ties to ISIS, with ties to the radical Islamic terrorists who are right now wreaking havoc across Iraq and Syria. So the first question I would ask the senior senator from Arizona is, how significant does he see the threat of terrorists crossing our porous border and targeting the homeland? And then the second question that I would ask that is related: of the $3.7 billion that President Obama has requested in this supplemental bill, just $160 million is directed to Border Patrol agents and immigration judges, both. So less than 5% of the total actually goes to boots on the ground. And so the second question I would ask to the senior senator from Arizona is, in his judgment, is devoting less than 5% of the resources from this bill to boots on the ground a serious effort at securing the border and solving the problem?
I would say to my colleague, the answer to his second question is obviously no. And it's my understanding, if you break this down, this legislation, into individual illegal immigrant, it's like $80,000 per individual, a remarkable sum. I'll be glad to be corrected for the record if that's not true. But concerning the senator's first question, about a month ago, for the first time in Syria, an American citizen blew himself up as a suicide bomber in Syria. There are now thousands and thousands of Europeans. We believe there are as many as 100 United States, although that number varies, citizens, that are over fighting in Syria on behalf of the most radical terrorist organization, ISIS. And these many hundred of Europeans that are fighting there have, guess what, as European citizens of these countries in Europe, they have a visa. They can get on a plane tomorrow. They can get to a European country and get on a plane tomorrow and fly to the United States of America because they're a citizen of one of the European countries of which we have a visa-free agreement on. So our Director of National Intelligence, the Secretary of Homeland Security, and the Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation have all said unequivocally that the events that are transpiring now in the largest, most wealthy, most influential, and largest center for terrorism between Syria and Iraq is breeding these people who have said they want to attack the United States of America. This guy Baghdadi, who is now the leader of ISIS, who apparently we saw on television preaching at a mosque in Mosul the other day, despite the fact there's $10 million on his head, said when he left our prison camp Bucca in Iraq, his last words were, "See you in New York. See you in New York." And I don't think he was joking. And so this also is clearly a national security issue over time as well, I say to my friend from Texas.